Hello again. Welcome to another FFS livestream. This is day 2 of the festival, so I hope it's going well for everybody so far. We've got another great selection of guests for you today. We're going to be talking more about the Fringe experience. FFS livestream is a community spirit project to try and bring performers and journalists and PR people and everybody involved in the industry here at the festival together and just encourage people to talk to each other more, really. And talk about their experiences rather than just coming on and PRing their shows. We're not about that at all. I'm going to start off with the blagging today to remind you that we're a community project, but we are self-funded and we can't sell tickets at all because we want all of this content to be free, but obviously content doesn't come for free. So at this point there will be some suggestions of donations appearing on the screen. If you would like to go to our GoFundMe page and drop us a couple of quid for the ticket price of admission, that would be lovely. We are supported by the Mental Health Foundation. We think that by encouraging spirit and encouraging people to talk to each other at the Fringe is just going to boost mental health. We don't profess to be mental health experts ourselves, but if you want to talk about that and get in touch, we can put you in touch with people who are. So, without further ado, I'm going to turn to a full house today. It's our first time with 4 people. We're going to need a bigger booth, I think, if we're not careful. So we're going to go right to left, I think, today. So we have
Barry Ferns.
Barry Ferns. You've done my thing. I always do that. I put a gap in between first name and surname.
I do. Like my teeth, there's a gap in every part of my life. My full name is Barry Richard Salvador Ferns.
That's good. That's good colour.
And in fact, in the Fringe in 2007, I changed my name by deed poll to Lionel Richie.
We're going to talk about that.
Are you?
Yes.
You're saying that accusatory.
No, because
I've got that scheduled for 27
that's the thing.
minutes in.
Absolutely.
That's fine. Okay.
And we also have Short and Curly.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Good, thanks.
Yeah, good, thanks.
And Juliette Burton. Hello.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm really, really awake.
Excellent. Is it because we're so early in the Fringe that we get these smiles and perky, or are you just naturally that way?
I think it's going to fade, but yeah.
Said in the most tired way. I think I'm going to fade soon.
No, it's just natural. It's being around all these wonderful, inspiring people just makes me feel alive and happy, and I'm definitely not fueled on caffeine right now.
So how many Fringes have you done?
So I started off doing other people's shows, like just being a jobbing actress, and that was like 2006, 7, 8, 9. And then in 2011 and 2012 did like a double act, and then as a solo performer since 2013 every single year. So forever, I think.
And without plugging your show, what you can, because I should say we'll have your names on the screen as you talk. And we'll also have ticket links in the bottom. What's your show about? Because I've invited you specifically because your show, when I read about it, very much appealed to the sort of thing that we're trying to do.
My show is about kindness and whether kindness can change the world. So I had a bit of an awful year last year and thought, you know what, I'm going to need to get my power back. And one power we all have is how we treat people. So I'm encouraging people, hopefully, to be a little bit kinder, especially during the Fringe. We're inviting our audiences to write down a dare. So we sometimes need a bit of a reason to be a bit kinder, a bit more of encouragement. So I'm asking each audience member to write a dare to be kind, hashtag dare to be kind, and then they submit that as they go in, and they also take a dare from a previous audience member out of a different bowl. And they go off, do those dares, those random acts of kindness, and ideally they get in touch with me to let me know how they got on.
Just an example of the sort of thing that you've had?
Oh, some very inventive ones actually already this Fringe. I mean, there's things like paying it forward in a coffee shop, or recommending a show, I mean, my favourite ones are usually really self-involved because, you know, I'm middle class and Western and white. But I love it when people say things like tweet something lovely about any show or laugh loudly at a comedy show. That's a really kind thing that you can do. We've also had things like chatting to people on the street, chatting to flyers, talking to them and actually telling them they're doing a good job. or leaving gifts for box office staff and front of house and people who make the Fringe happen.
Yeah, that's lovely.
I think that's the most important thing. It's about making connections, and I have mental health conditions, so I am an ambassador for Rethink Mental Illness, and I'm raising money for Mind and Rethink in this show because I think mental health is something that we all need help looking after our mental health, especially during something like a Fringe festival.
Yeah, and I think that's great because everybody deals with mental health, slightly differently. Everyone's got a different take, but acts of kindness is something that's surely universal to make people feel better.
It can change people's lives. There's, without too many spoilers, but there's one guy that when I fly people, I like to chat to them because you can just do like a numbers game. But I like to properly make a little connection and recommend other shows. I'm definitely recommending other people's shows, and having a little recommendations of restaurants and really connecting with them. So it's a big bunch of friends when we come into the show. And for me, there was one guy that I met back in 2012 who he came to see the show. Then he came to see the show the next year. I was really loyal fans. And that second year, he told me that the day I first met him, he'd been planning on committing suicide.
Wow.
Here in Edinburgh, he just had enough. He'd been going through some awful stuff in his life. And he said the way that I chatted to him felt like the first act of kindness that anyone had shown him in a really long time. And then he said he felt obligated to come see the show. That's how I get them, I guilt trip them. And then he said that he found the show so uplifting that he just changed his mind, which is amazing.
I think we need more uplifting things, particularly, the festival's difficult for everybody, so
Really can be.
you can't go wrong if we're just being nice.
You can feel alone in a sea of people, even as a performer. Like you can feel like you matter so much one minute, and then you are nobody.
Well, we'll talk about a few strategies to try and deal with those sort of things a little later on. If we can turn to you guys, you're very experienced in terms of Fringe between the two of you.
Quite similar, really. We sort of started 2006, 2007 in different guises. Paul's a stand-up. I was in a different sketch group at the time. And then the past we've done 5 shows as Short and Curly. And I've done plays here as well. But we're very lucky because we've always been here together. So we support each other, and that's quite nice to have that. But I really understand coming on your own is.
A lot of sketch groups are great. People in sketch groups, they're usually all right. Those guys, because they've got each other, and there's a real camaraderie when you're doing a show with someone else, any number of other people. When you're doing it on your own, it could be really.
And stand-ups, a lot of them are on their own. And they're staying out of town because it's too expensive in here, and so they get a bit stuck sometimes and a bit lonely.
Yeah, and it's the fact that you've put so much of your own heart and soul into your show, and it feels personal, and it's hard to detach yourself from that. It can get too much.
Barry.
Oh, blimey! I was at. It can get too much. I was like, it can get too much. You're right. Oh yeah.
So you've been doing.
That's the last thing I heard. It can get too much. No, Barry. Oh yeah.
Barry's too much already.
Yeah, gone.
So you've been doing Fringes since.
I don't know. I can't remember. 1999.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got a lot of experience on the panel today.
Very, very, very early. I did my first stand-up gig when I was 16, so I've been.
You also
I've spent probably about 2 years in Edinburgh, just from the months I've spent in Edinburgh.
Okay. You run a comedy club in London.
I run a comedy club in London called the Bill Murray Angel Comedy that has just happened by accident because there are loads of amazing comedians that aren't given a chance to perform by a lot of the industry, and so they're kind of often, unless you look quite the right way, you're not even given the chance to get good because you don't get stage time. We all know that within the industry, if you're chosen by an agent, you can get stage time because a lot of agents run gigs. So the club itself has blossomed because there are so many kind of quirky, unusual, unsupported acts that are just really just want a chance to perform, and it's grown. And then now it's a club that hosts Sarah Pascoe or I don't know, Maria Bamford came, or Daniel Kitson or Tim Key, as well as people doing their first gig.
Bill Murray?
Yes.
Bill
Murray. It's called Bill Murray. Has
he made an appearance yet?
No, but the closest I think we've come is that a sports car stopped in front of the a tinted window sports car stopped in front of the club when Bill Murray was in town.
So you're
and then
assuming
sped off.
you're
So
assuming
it
that was him,
obviously
drive by.
Yeah.
Took a little picture, selfie.
Yeah.
Yeah, precisely. Take a little selfie in front of it, you know. But yeah, no, he hasn't been yet. But we're thinking of naming a cat Bill Murray, so we've got a Bill Murray for the Bill Murray.
Oh, that's
Nice.
Yeah, Bill Murray and Bill Murray.
So my first Edinburgh was 2007.
2007.
And when I came here,
Yeah.
the thing that I remember most about it, apart from having a really scary time, was
Scary time.
that everything in Edinburgh was branded, "This belongs to Lionel Richie,"
Yes.
and you were responsible for this.
Yeah.
I was responsible for that, yeah. And that was so for me, my show isn't just what's happening in the room. I really like to try and make a kind of show outside of the room. So like this show is called Barry Loves You, and I'm trying to bring as much love as possible, or kind of a funny way of saying that outside. But in the Lionel Richie show, I thought, wouldn't it be strange if it looked like everything in Edinburgh belonged to Lionel Richie? So we just put stickers, everything. This belongs to Lionel. Like Lionel Richie was going around buying up stuff. You know?
Yeah.
Can I buy that?
And it was on bins and
Yeah,
lampposts, and
He
it was
just
everywhere.
voraciously purchasing.
Up half the seat,
Up
I
half
think
the
there was
seat,
some up
yeah.
there.
So they did a show. I've been doing a show up to half the seat every year since 2007. So, and there'll be one this year on the penultimate Saturday of the Fringe. In 2012 and 2013, I did a show on top of half the seat every single day because I don't need cartilage in my knees. But yeah, which was amazing to do. I talk about kind of a kind thing to do. You go up there and you do, and it's phenomenal. The kindness of other people always blows me away. Like I'd take a doorway up on top of half the seat, and just people would sit and they'd enjoy it, and they'd be so kind of grateful that happened, and so much warmth. And sometimes you put stuff out, and often when you put stuff out, people kind of just give way more back than you're expecting.
Yeah.
And like on Arthur's Seat as well, it's always a moving gig because you're just out in nature. It's a great way to cope. I don't know if you guys go up to Arthur's Seat, but yeah. So
When they put a drag lift in, I will consider going up there more.
well, I've started a fake TripAdvisor thing for Arthur's Seat, and already lots of people report there's free Wi-Fi up there. There's a tour inside, and there's a funicular. So yeah, if you just look on TripAdvisor, you'll find all the things that aren't there. So maybe you'll get coaxed up by the free Starbucks up there that's there right now.
The reason I mentioned the Lionel Richie thing is, and I'm hoping I can dig it out so we can actually put it on screen. My abiding memory of it was that driving home, we stopped at a service station, I think it was like Lancaster or somewhere around about there. And when I pulled out the thing from the petrol pump, it had a sticker on saying "This belongs to Lionel Richie," and I took a photo of it. So I'm hoping I can find that, and we'll put it on screen.
A friend of mine was in a festival in Hong Kong, and a frisbee hit him on the back of the head, and it had one of the stickers on it. We were just like, all right, well, Lionel's just buying up shit everywhere. That's Lionel. He's just voracious.
So what are you looking forward to most out of this Fringe? What are you hoping to get out of this Fringe? Let's come to you, guys. What would be a big win for you?
Oh, that's a big, tough question, that. I think just as many people see you as possible as you can.
Yes.
We're trying to go for broad appeal. Is that right? I don't know. Maybe you should answer this.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I think that is just to enjoy it, just to enjoy the experience. I think each year you come, you work on perfecting the experience, learning something each time you come. And yeah, just keeping yourself happy is just really, really important.
Yeah, I think if you get to a point where you're really enjoying what you're doing,
Then other people are enjoying it.
So healthy.
and everyone's going, hey, this is fun. Let's do this again. I don't know.
It's quite an aggressive schooling period, isn't it? It's like a month of intensive learning just by proxy.
But also the run up to Edinburgh is pretty intense as well. Like all of the previews and putting a show together, you do have a lot
It
of.
consumes your whole year, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, yes, it does consume it, and you kind of, there's a point in July or June even when I just go, my life is stopping now until September. Like there's nothing else other than Edinburgh.
When do you start writing your show? When do you start doing that?
I mean, I'm already writing my next 5 shows, 3 of which are really quite developed and about half an hour of very solid material is there. I like just having a lot of things on the go, and I think that's part of the glory of Edinburgh is you can also keep popping new little things in and testing it out, and people it's still a solid show, and you just kind of you're getting better at it. But for me, I also what I want to get out of Edinburgh is really like that's so holistic and beautiful, and like perfecting and kind of enjoying the experience. But I've sold out the last 3 years in a row here, and this year I'm in a slightly bigger venue, and I have obsessive compulsive disorder. I really have to keep selling out. It's not even for like anyone else other than I just have to keep that pattern up now.
Wow.
Yesterday I was 5 tickets away from selling out, and I nearly had a meltdown about that.
There's a lot of people looking at the screen right now going,
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Like,
With our
I
5
say that,
audience
I
we
know,
had yesterday.
but I'm out there.
I think those 5 were in our audience.
They were.
But I say that with the context that I'm so obsessive about it that because I hate seeing empty seats. I get very. I know that sounds ridiculous, but I will be out there slaving away, flyering myself for like 5 hours before my show because it's not. I mean, it's lovely having a full audience anyway, and it's lovely having people who appreciate what you do, and that's amazing. And I love that. That is the best thing about it. Separate to that, I do have a problem with I need to see repeated patterns. It makes me feel safe and secure and happy, and I'm actually genuinely quite nervous. I'm going to have to learn how to let that go if I don't sell out this year, and it'll be okay.
That's one of sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say sometimes empty seats are better than people. They're better audience members sometimes.
name names.
That guy in 2012, he sat there the whole time with his arms
I
folded.
love the idea of naming names. I thought, well, B5 is great.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great.
He's good B5.
If you can track him down, he's worth getting along.
Oh yeah, I like that guy.
It's interesting though, kind of like the different. I don't know how you guys manage because sometimes you get an audience that's very supportive, and sometimes you don't. You know, like I was talking to an act yesterday, and I had a tough gig yesterday as well. I like running the kind of like the Iron Man of kind of the running through the. You know, if you have a bad gig, there's a reviewer in, or you crumble. Sometimes internally, you can kind of almost crumble on stage halfway through, and just like, oh, I've got to somehow carry on. And because it's like 25 days. Like you do get ups and downs, and they can be quite extreme ups and downs. And I wonder how you
From
guys.
one day to the next.
Yeah,
It's
things
gonna
get
be
blown out
so
of proportion
varied.
slightly in Edinburgh.
Yeah.
I think things that like normally you would go home and you'd reset and go, oh, okay, that was just that. In Edinburgh, for some reason, things just seem so much bigger.
There's something about the reviewers, isn't it? It's something about being under scrutiny.
Yes.
That can really kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's any kind of weakness that you have within your own psychology, I think sometimes the people that really succeed in Edinburgh are the people that are less psychologically weak or have less kind of like need for kindness. Like, I really respond to that, the need for kindness and warmth in a good show. But there are some people that are just machines. I look at them and just go, wow, you just bowl on with but I don't know.
Yeah, you say to them, how's your show going? And they're like, yeah, really good.
Yeah,
And you're like,
I know.
really?
Yeah.
You just need someone. Sometimes you just need someone to talk to talk about these things, and that's me being a machine and seamlessly segueing as I spin to camera. There it is. That's nice. That looks really good. That's going to look great. I'm going to use that.
Broken
now.
That's in a package now. To talk about the fact that yesterday we spent some time at Fringe Central talking to some of the participants team there about how they can help support acts. So we're going to go to that package now and have a look at this. Katie Queen.
Hi.
Hi, how are you doing?
Very good, thank you. It's day one and everything's kicking off, so it's exciting.
It is. It's quite a buzz around today.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a slow start in the preview days, but
I know.
it's all in action today.
Yeah, getting there.
So you're the Participant Development Officer.
That's right, yes.
What does that involve?
Well, basically, in the Participant Development Service, we do just that. We develop the kind of professional side of things with artists. So anyone that's coming to the Fringe or has been to the Fringe in the past or planning on bringing a show to the Fringe can come to us for advice on their creative and professional development, be that adapting their show for onward touring, engaging with promoters and industry while they're in town, any advice on fundraising or finding an agent, that kind of thing.
I mean, the reason we're here, the reason we've come here is that there are a huge amount of services available to people.
Yes,
and they maybe don't necessarily find out. And I'm not condemning you for not letting people know. But I think we were just discussing the fact that the Fringe brochure registration fee, I think a lot of people go, it's 350 quid or whatever it is, and that means I get in the brochure. And they miss all of the other stuff that's available.
And I think because we've kept the fee the same for the past 11 years, people kind of think, oh, you know, it's a cheap deal, we're going in the brochure, we're going on the website, and, you know, that's the way of marketing our show centrally.
Yeah.
But what people get is access to Fringe Central, where we are now, access to Matt and Kevin, who run the venues and companies team, access to the participant development service and the media advice service, and just pastoral care year round, be it that you're planning on bringing a show to the Fringe in the future, or you've brought a show to the Fringe 5 years ago and you just want to check in, kind of see if there's any advice we can offer. You know, we're here year round. There's 24 of us based just off the high street year round, and we're there to support participants.
Because some companies, and I include my own in this, occasionally have been guilty of, you know, wait till March, and then it's like, now it's time to start thinking about the Fringe.
Yeah, and so, you know, with the timeline, people register their show once they've found a venue. So, you know, there's that kind of onward progression. You're constantly working from about November, December to bring a show to the Fringe. You're finding your venue, you're registering your show. Once you've registered your show, you immediately think, okay, now how do I get to Edinburgh? So you're planning your journey, you're budgeting, and you're marketing, and people focus so much on marketing and getting audiences into their show, they often forget about the development and the onward journey beyond the Fringe, you know, what next afterwards.
What percentage of companies do you think take full advantage of that? Do you find it hard to
It is hard to gauge because engaging with the participant development service isn't just coming to us for one-to-one advice. It's being in Fringe Central. We have the Fringe Central events program, which is a program of over 125 events by 65 event partners that are coming to Edinburgh with workshops and seminars and one-to-one advice sessions. And so they are development events aimed at the skills of participants, be that sponsoring or gaining sponsorship from companies, engaging with promoters. There's networking events, there's mental health support events. So it's impossible to quantify the amount of people that engage with our service. We do quantify the amount of people that come to us for one-to-one advice, but so many people engage with the Fringe Central program as well that actually it could be a huge amount. Yeah. And you know, it's great to see that it's really, really increasing in the past year or two.
All of these events with these experts, what'll that cost me?
Absolutely nothing. It's completely part of your registration fee, which, you know, it's access to Fringe Central, which is just a chill out zone, and you've got your admin facilities, and we're all based here for the kind of one-to-one support, but all of the events are completely included in that.
Yeah, and you also have very practical things in Fringe Central as well.
We do indeed,
so
yeah.
You need the internet.
Yeah, so we have free Wi-Fi. We also have computer terminal access. You can get a login to that for £2, which lasts you the whole month. And you can come here to use the printing facilities. We have kind of
staplers.
This is it, exactly. We have guillotines that you can add flashes and reviews to your flyers if you've gotten a review, or if you want to add some kind of papering comps to things, you can use a stapler.
In the past, I've wasted so much time worrying about like where I can find glue and where I can find anything. And I never realised that
just come here, use
ours.
ours.
All here.
Yeah, and it's kind of that thing that a lot of people don't realise about the service until they pop into Fringe Central because they desperately need a stapler. And when they're here, they pick up a Fringe Central program, or they get chatting to one of our really great Fringe Central assistants, and they realise, you know, that there's so much here. It's a great place to come and hang out and meet friends and grab a coffee. But it's also, you know, if you're having just a 5-minute stress and you just need somebody to chat to, we're all here, and we're kind of calm and mostly collected and here to chat things through like that. So it's a really good place to come.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. I mean, the reason that we set this thing up, this FFS live stream, is to try and kind of get people to do that, to talk to other people.
Yeah.
And no one is alone here.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because so many people are coming here with solo shows, and they're self-producing, and they've found their own venue, and they've registered their own show, and they've done all of the marketing, and they're looking to engage with touring operators and programmers themselves, that they think it's all them and all of that work is on them. And yes, it is a lot of work and it is a lot of admin, but share it out. You know, there's so many people in the same boat. You can cross-promote shows, you can help people distribute their flyers, and everyone is so supportive, and it's really great to see that kind of family building in venues and in Fringe Central, and just having people support each other. It's a really great place.
Yeah, I've been very lucky because I feel like I've got that, but I did it organically, and I didn't necessarily realise I was doing it.
Yeah.
And it is easy because all of this is
It
here.
is, and it's kind of one of those things that it happens organically with people that you meet in your venue. And you might be doing similar shows, and you kind of build those networks from the ground up. And in year one, they're great friends because they work in the same venue as you and they're doing a similar show. Year two, they're maybe bringing a show back, or they've gone on to do a great tour of the UK, and so they've got a little bit more skill on that side, and you're maybe coming up with a different set of skills that you've built. So you're meeting up in year two and you're sharing these skills that you've built in the past year. And then year three, this person that you've met in year one might have gone on to start programming a venue, or has become a really great producer. And so those networks that you build and build year on year on year, it's a long game, but it's a really great network to have of the fellow artists and peers that you meet in your venue and at Fringe Central.
Yeah, there really is no need to do it on your own.
No, absolutely not. And some of the Fringe Central events we have Going Solo together, which is a networking and support event for solo performers. There's some really great mental health support events. We have the Sanctuary, which is happening 5 times over the Fringe, and that's just a quiet place away from the fray of the festival. There's just kind of quiet music and an essential oil diffuser and dim lighting, and head and shoulder massages that are free, provided by Equity. So it's a really nice little escape, an oasis of calm.
What's a good festival for you? What do you go home and go, oh, I did a good job?
We just had the Fringe Central welcome address, and Deborah Francis White just said this wonderful thing about what makes a good festival for her is less about work and more about play. If you're working at it, and if you're pushing yourself, and if you're having a really hard time because all you're focusing on is getting people in to see your show, getting them to enjoy your show, and getting onward opportunities for progression, and you're not enjoying it yourself, what's the point in being here? It's a festival. It's supposed to be a party. It's supposed to be fun. Get out of the head zone of making it really hard work, and hang out with friends, and get out of the city and escape from the Fringe sometimes, and just enjoy it, play with it, and don't constantly work at it.
Hashtag into the unknown?
Exactly, hashtag into the unknown. And yeah, escaping into shows that you wouldn't see, escaping into places that you wouldn't usually go to, because that's what Edinburgh is all about, is, into the unknown, down that little alleyway that you would never have gone, and into a free show that you got flyered for at 1:30 in the morning.
That's the best thing, when you find like a venue just by accident,
Oh,
and
it's
find
excellent.
an act that you think is wonderful, and then you watch them.
Yeah, it's really exciting.
You can find customers for life in that sort of situation.
Yeah, I think so, and it's building those audiences from scratch. And I think Alan will talk a lot about it in a while, about marketing and getting bums in seats. But bumping into people in a queue that you would never have spoken to, and you find out that they are programming a venue in London, and having those conversations that you never would have started, but you do because you're in Edinburgh and you're at the Fringe, and it's things just happen, and it's Fringe, and it's fun. And
it's so good to talk to people who are clearly so passionate about it.
Oh, I love it. I absolutely love it. And, as I said, we work year round, and it's really great that we get to support people all year round. But this is like Christmas morning for us, having people coming into me, telling me about their shows and asking for advice for what to do beyond the Fringe. How do I build a tour? How do I talk to people with the blue lanyards? Because they're the ones that I need to talk to, and they're scaring me. Getting that kind of one-to-one just FaceTime with artists that are coming here and are so excited or so scared, and they just need a little bit of extra push and a little bit of build up.
Thank you so much for talking
Thank
to
you.
us. It's been great.
Really lovely.
Thank you.
Don't have too many of them though.
Chilies and ginger, cucumbers are good.
Cucumber and water.
Are we kind of reviewing vegetables?
Yeah,
We are reviewing vegetables. And what we're doing is the rhubarb, carrots and peas thing, because we're just having a chat. And oh, hello. We were just talking about something important. That was a package from Fringe Central with all of their services that they offer to participants. I have to say, when talking to them yesterday, I was a bit embarrassed because for years and years I had no idea that sort of service was available from the participants team. you know, like the registration fee that you pay to go in the brochure. It's like that's what that costs. It's like 300 and something quid, you know, and you're in the brochure. But then I didn't really realise the full extent of you can just go in there and talk to people, and like that's what it pays for.
I really love the participant space.
Was there anything like that when you started up here?
No, there was the place where you could buy tickets, and then that's it. The alleyway that kind of smells slightly dodgy.
Yes,
Oh, yeah,
just off the
Yeah.
mile.
It's a smelly
Dodgy
alleyway.
alleyway. But that was it really. There was. I first came up with a sketch show, and yeah, there was. I mean, the closest you ever get really is this Pleasance Courtyard, and the Gilded Balloon didn't really have TV at that time. It was on the Cowgate, but there was the Pleasance Courtyard was the one place where people congregated. I think. But
This is like listening to your granddad talking about the old days.
that's what people say.
Yeah.
People say, Barry, what was it
Granddad,
like?
tell us about the Fringe.
What
And
was
when the
comedy like before it was funny?
And when the sirens went off, we all had to go
Yeah.
down
We
to
had
the
to go
shelter.
back into the hospital.
Yeah.
So, when you first came here, was there support? Was there? I mean, obviously, you're supporting each other. Were you together when you first came up?
Yeah.
You look delighted about that.
No, I'm just trying to
You
think.
three.
I'm trying to think. What?
Yes, we did a show. We did a show in 2007.
Wait,
Were you guys together then?
We were,
Yeah, me and Barry were together.
we were husband and husband.
and that was the year that we got together
Was it?
officially.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Right.
You're welcome. I passed him on, didn't I?
Yeah, you
You know?
did.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a little area where I was in both camps.
Yeah.
I'm
So
sorry.
so you were supporting each other,
Yeah.
and you also had like other little strands of support going on.
Yeah, I mean, you develop a sort of network of other comedian friends that I suppose are your support, such as people like Barry. But I don't. I mean,
I don't
you've always
remember
been.
there being.
Support.
I don't remember. Yeah, I don't remember there being.
I mean, do
anything-
you know about it now? Like, do you know what's available there now?
Not fully. I know
don't
that
think
there's
people-
a yoga class at some stage.
Yes.
Which I would really like. We've been trying to practice yoga in the mornings, just to, you know.
Just
keep
practice.
us-
Just
just
practice
to-
it.
just to keep
not
us
ready for a full
grounded,
performance
yeah.
yet.
When
Just
you say
just
yoga,
practice.
You look, yeah, I'm imagining too many sexual things now. Can we carry on?
Yes.
Because my mind is very
it's
dirty.
perfectly
I was hearing
clean,
I think
yoga
that's sexual
and,
thing.
and also turning to
which is
sex.
also very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have like
Sex? No.
support, like a network of people?
Yeah, no, I do. I even this morning before coming here, I met up with Matt Ricardo, and especially because my show's so much about mental health and my mental health experience in the past. For so many years, I've been talking about it before it was trendy, and so people know that. Yeah, you've got to look out for Juliette, but then they also know that they can tell me about what they're going through, and so yeah, kind of. I'm one of those introverted performers as well, where when I'm on stage, I will be very big and full of life, but then I get my energy from being quiet and alone. So finding the right kind of fringe family, your fringe people who you'll meet up with in Edinburgh, and then next time you see them might be Adelaide or Brighton or Melbourne or anywhere, and you have a proper one-to-one chat. If you just cut straight to how are you really doing? And yeah, you just, especially people like Matt, who just completely gets the obsessiveness of it, or like once you start a chain, you've got to keep the chain up of sold out or whatever it is. And yeah, I think having support from other performers is great, but also having support from audiences, which this is possibly a little bit saccharine, but it's true. So there's certain Edinburgh Fringe fans who come to my shows and stick around afterwards, and they really are, they're there for you. Especially since my family are a farming family, their world is completely separate from this. They never see my shows. And I love them to pieces, but they don't have any capacity to know what this world is like.
Yeah.
So when you meet not only other performers, but also people who are the backbone of the Fringe, who buy the tickets, who turn up and cheer and laugh, those people are the ones who are rooting for you throughout the year. And social media is actually a really good place to connect with them and have them saying, oh, we're thinking of you, keep going, can't wait to see what the next show's like. Those are also amazing support.
And I think if you get lucky as well, like your venue staff as well, like
Yeah.
talking to people.
Yeah.
We were saying earlier, she comes up a lot because she does this sort of thing, but Beck Hill was talking in her interview about the fact that she still goes back to if she needs a sanctuary, she goes back to the Gilded Balloon box office to hang out with the staff because that's where she started and she kind of just knows everybody.
Yeah.
Ours is, they're really good, our guys at the moment actually. Like Becky has a heart condition and like our room got unbelievably hot 2 days ago and you were feeling really quite faint and like concerned and we just mentioned it to all the staff and they've got an air conditioning unit in the very next day and we were like, oh, that's
I mean, I don't think
probably
it
happened.
was purely for me.
I
No.
feel like they
But
did
it was
it.
just, yeah,
They were
it's
quite
nice.
pleased about it. They went, oh, we've got aircon. So I feel like they were pushing for it.
But they are super reactive. Like, I think last year we had a show, it was a very quiet show and there was quite a lot of noise outside. There was a ramp just outside that was wooden and we were like, we can just hear people walking up and down it. Next day there was carpet on it. Like, people will fix problems if you bring them up. Don't feel like you're being a diva if you kind of just mention something small like that. Don't ask for a basket of fruit. That's not going to happen.
It's good to surround yourself by people that you know year on year as well. Like we have a guy who does our tech, Sean Curley, who's done it for 5 years now, and he gets it and he gets our dynamic because sometimes me and Becky argue about things in the show.
But that's the only other constant relationship. Like your technician, if they're the only other person who's there every single show, and they're the only one watching it. I've got no idea how the show goes, but if you can, I like those moments when things aren't going exactly how you want, and or they're going brilliantly, and you're looking over at your technician, and I sometimes look over and I'm like, yeah, it's going really good. And you don't have to even say that, but they are the only other person who's on that journey with you.
Yeah, and sometimes they're very objective in a way that you aren't.
Yeah.
Like, it's quite easy to get in your own head about something that isn't there, and you can have them at the back going, oh, no, that wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
You don't need to worry about that.
I mean, August, you guys have been coming here since the turn of the century. For people that
Is that right,
I said that thinking that was like 100 years ago, but actually it wasn't, was it? So you've built up that network. For people that are coming up, like obviously that are coming from maybe from a standing start, I think being in Fringe Central yesterday, we just started chatting to some people, and people are generally nice and they want to make friends. You just turn to the person on the beanbag next to you, and that's where you start building those.
Turn to the person on the beanbag next to you.
That's the first time I've ever been accused of being millennial.
But I think generally people who are doing shows like you, if you're doing a show, someone else is doing it, gets what it's like.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't forget that fact. I mean, you can talk to other people about
And
it.
there's also the people either side of your show
Yes.
that you can make a connection with and support them, you know, when you're doing that fast turnover, but you can be like, how did it go? And, you know, you can see some people are struggling, so you can...
Be careful though, because if they're a theatre show, they may have a great big set that you end up starting to
help.
carrying scaffolding
Yes.
and all sorts.
Tensions that can come in. You're constantly running late, or somebody else
Yes,
is constantly running late.
that's true.
But you know, I suppose all emotions run a bit higher because everything seems.
That's
more.
right.
But that's also the emotion of supporting each other. You become very close with somebody that's before you or after you, just because you see each other in probably the most kind of fragile moment, either before or just after a show is finished. And even if it's finished amazingly high, you're still quite kind of like, you know, you're in a liminal state of kind of like, oh, who am I again? Am I performer me, or am I real me? Or, you know, it's a strange transition you're constantly having to make as a performer to be, and now I'm talking to you, now I'm doing rehearsed things that are, you know, so it's, so kind of, I think friendships can be made quite quickly. And also you can, like, for example, Paul, I haven't seen Paul maybe in about a year, and I love Paul. And like, honestly, every single time I see him, but it's lovely to see him. And,
we can get something going on, fine, we'll be over here.
Becky, I've got issues with since 2007. And I had no idea that it was happening as it was happening. But just because after doing the show in 2007 with Paul, and like I think as performers, and it's what Juliette was saying, is that you know, you're in Melbourne, you're in Adelaide. It's like being in an Olympic village here of performers. And you meet people, and then you might not meet them at the next European Championships, but you meet them, and you do come together. And
we are a lot like athletes, really.
Yeah.
Some more than others.
I am the Outer Mongolia of the team, just me and a flag. Hi guys.
One thing I think is always quite good is if someone who comes up who isn't part of the Fringe as well, that is sometimes quite good, like a friend from home visiting, because it does remind you that there is a world outside of it, and I think it's really important to remember that the world is just moving on, and it is a Fringe, and it does end, and it isn't everything. And someone who comes and goes, he's got a new dog or something, and you're like, oh, he's got a dog. Oh,
Yeah.
Let's
talk about
to do with my show.
something. Yeah, let's talk about something that isn't. I mean, one of my big things is like constantly we're aware that we're doing these shows and that's what we're here to do. And when someone says to you, like a fellow performer says to you, how are you? They're not saying, how's your show going, necessarily.
Yes.
They're saying, how are you? And it's important to talk about that, as well as we tend to go into this PR mode. It's like, how are you? Brilliant, I'm getting people in, like, you know, the firing's going well, we're getting good reviews. And it's like, we just, I'm
But
fine, I had a coffee.
Sometimes you need to do that. I mean, sometimes I need to do that where it's like a shield of like, actually, I can't really currently talk about how I am, because if I do, I might cry.
Right.
Or I can't really talk about how I am because I don't know how I am, but I can talk about my show.
Right.
And I can say that these are the things I know, and it's really useful. I was talking to Matt Ricardo earlier about the show is actually a safe space for some people, especially you've created this contained world where you feel like there is a reason to get out of bed in the morning, and it's you have a purpose. There's all of your perfectionist qualities, all of the things that maybe might eat away at you outside of this world. For your show, it makes perfect sense. And sometimes that's actually quite a healthy thing. It's also important to remember that there's that balance of it's not the only thing, but it isn't as. Some people might mistake it for vanity, but actually it's survival sometimes.
Yeah. I think it's important just to be friendly and smile a lot.
Oh yeah.
I think smiling is really nice. I had a nightmare. My first Fringe, I was a bag of nerves, and the show was at like 10:40. So it was like just every time you wake up in the morning, you go, oh, I've got to go through like 16 hours before I can get to that bit. And I had a blast on stage. I had a great time. And then immediately I came off, I was thinking, oh, I've got to wait for another 24 hours before I can get back and doing it again.
Yeah.
You need to do a 24-hour show. That's what you need to do.
Mate, you give the worst advice.
Someone's already got that covered, haven't they?
Oh, okay.
I think that's been done. So how do you look after, like practical tips, how do you look after yourself this month? How do you guys?
Sleep is really
I was supposed
important.
to say sleep.
Yeah.
Sleep is really important.
It is.
About 10 hours a night, about 8 during the day.
Yeah.
Are we allowed to mention products?
Oh,
Vitamin
products.
C.
Yeah.
We can
See,
mention products.
We've all had one of
Manuka
these.
honey, a spoonful a day is just really good, and we steam every morning as well.
Sorry?
I was going to say, just explain that steaming thing.
We have a sauna.
You know when you put a towel over a bowl and you steam,
Steam
when
for
you
10
sing
minutes,
quite a lot,
yeah.
and you do that and it really
We've got no
moisturises
singing in
up.
our show this year. I don't know why. That's just happened, so...
But it really helps.
Yeah,
Like if you do it
steaming.
every day, it
Keeping
perks you up.
the vocal cords, moist, and also it's because obviously your sinuses clear as well because you get colds, don't you?
Yeah.
It's one of our big things, stay hydrated.
Yeah.
It's very, very important.
Yeah.
Oh, we
think
do it
Jade-
loosey-goosey, don't we, as well? That's another thing. Always do loosey-goosey. Like, just do something really silly for no real reason before you're doing your show.
Right.
Sorry,
That's not
No, that's
health
okay.
related. Yeah, we do a
No,
bit
it's
of
more to just free
yoga.
yourself up, I think. But maybe that's show related.
I sleep always, like I'm not a party goer, I'm not somebody who goes out, I like to be quiet and contained, definitely frozen yogurt, always frozen yogurt makes me happy. I think also perspective. I feel like there's something else that I really ought to say. I always bring my gym gear up every year, convinced that this is the year that I will go to the gym as well as do my show, and that hasn't happened yet, but it's nice to have it there just to know it's there.
Flyering in the gym must be very easy. You've got people on treadmills and just...
I flyer a lot, so it's like you're up on your feet and you don't realise it, but you're actually strengthening. And massages, but there's an amazing masseuse called Marissa, who Magic Hands Marissa. She goes around and she properly pummels. It's not a fun thing. It's a painful thing. But then you realise that your shoulders are back again, and you can actually move your neck. Because there's always a point, and each year it comes earlier and earlier in the Fringe, but I can't lift my arm up beyond about there.
Is that your good flyering arm?
She's a left-handed flyer.
Actually, I do hold them. I hold them here and
the old southpaw.
I'm right-handed.
I guess I think finding good connections as well is really helpful. So people you can properly chat to. But I always lose my voice at one point. My microphone, I have a little headset mic, and it's broken. The last 2 shows, I don't know why I'm wearing it. It's just a comfort thing, but I'm projecting, and I might try them in money.
Oh, I swear by it. It's expensive, but it's worth every penny.
Yeah.
Jade Adams was insisting that hydration is the thing.
Yeah,
and it takes like
clear.
4 hours for water to get around your system and
If
get
your
in.
pee's clear, you're good.
If your pee's clear, you're good.
Yeah.
Well, that's a slogan for
Yeah.
us. We might just put that as a subheading.
I mean,
You
morally.
are welcome to it.
Morally.
I've got a new
Have I
problem.
been today? Oh dear, I'm in a bad way.
I've got a new problem this year, and I'm trying to find a solution, and I haven't found one yet. But it's new year. Every single night I'm having anxiety dreams. Like before, it would be in the run up to the Fringe, I'd have anxiety dreams. This year it's every night. Like I'm having vivid dreams about my audience coming up on stage and telling me what's wrong with the show during the show in front of the rest of the audience. And every night it's just a different variation of that. I don't know how to stop that. Help.
Okay. Well, that's probably one for the audience.
Okay, if anyone knows, I really would love to know how to. Because I need to sleep, but it's starting to make me not want to sleep.
Well, I was going to say I'm not hawking it, obviously, but I think Fringe Central is a good place to start for that sort of thing. They are doing they've got like loads of little events and workshops they're doing. I think they're also doing free massages, which may have been mentioned in the thing, which I think is Equity. Equity are running some sessions of
My
like
membership
sanctuary.
was going to pay for
Exactly.
something.
Yeah.
Well, and it's your insurance.
And your
as
insurance,
well.
yeah.
Insurance and your
Yeah.
massages. That's why.
Headspace is good. We
Yes,
do it
yes.
to go to
Yeah.
bed at night. All
Yes.
the sleep exercises are great.
So
Yes.
Headspace is an app.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
Wonderful.
also use Andrew Johnson. He's got a lovely Scottish voice. He's a little. I'm Andrew Johnson, and you're going to fall asleep. Very, very soothing.
I'm sold. Yeah.
It's very lovely.
I like the phrase, I use Andrew Johnson. It feels like a hair product or something.
Hey, how's your hair so nice and shiny?
I use Andrew Johnson.
Oh.
The man, he just touches it and makes it nice.
Yeah.
He used to be with Johnson and Johnson, but then he
Yes,
went
of
solo.
course.
Yeah.
It
He's
was a big takeover.
He was
striking
always
it on
the
his
best
own.
one of the two, wasn't he?
Johnson and Johnson.
If you can remember so far back as to when you first came in your little short pants from school, I do that line every day because I love this question.
Short pants from school.
Yeah, I just like the image. What would you tell your younger Fringe-going self? What would be your advice? Like things that are going to make it easier for you.
What, when?
If you could go back and tell young Barry,
He's still young, isn't he?
but very young Barry, young, inexperienced.
I don't know. What would I say?
Some piece of Fringe advice, even if it's a place to go, a sanctuary you've found, a green space.
I suppose there is no industry. There's just other people that are lovely.
That's nice.
Because I think in your head in Edinburgh, I spent maybe that good few years thinking, I've got to, if I'm good, then industry will come along and go, you're good at what you do. Here is an opportunity to make something. And then the turning point was when I realised actually just everybody's just making do. It's like life in general. Everyone's just got their own things. They're either a producer that's kind of like just gone back into it, or a performer that it looks like they're doing great, but inside it's kind of falling apart because loads of things are happening. So, there are so many we've all got individual stories of both highs and lows and gains and losses, and actually we're just a big community of people that are trying to find ways to express some of the lights and darks of our experience, and that's kind of what the Fringe is, whether you're a performer or
I would definitely say on those lines, don't compare yourself to other people because everybody is on an individual journey. So
Yeah, it isn't a competition.
no.
And you're almost made to think that it is.
Yeah.
And it really isn't. All it is what you should do is try and make sure you're doing a show that you enjoy doing, because then at the end of the day, you're having fun.
Yeah.
I think some people don't do that, and it's not fun.
We're all climbing let's use the Arthur's seat mentality. We're all climbing it, and we're all going to get to the top eventually, but it doesn't mean that because someone else is getting there quicker,
Yeah.
it doesn't reflect
Well, it's
on you.
actually the doing it. You're doing it. Like,
Yeah.
People think comedy is a thing that you do this and then you get something else, but really you're doing it. We're all doing it. So this is it.
And you know, I think sometimes it's easy to get lost in the narrative of here I started and now I end, and the competition in this sector is all about the narrative. Like, how do they come up to come down? How do they go down to go up? It's like looking at Love Island, or, you know. So as humans, we love narrative. We really love to see progress or lack of progress, and there is no narrative. We're just kind of like existing moment to moment, day to day. So it's, taking that analogy for me, it's almost like we're all on Arthur's seat.
Yeah.
You know, whether you're at the bottom or at the top, you might never get to the top, but why would you want to be at the top? Because the bottom's beautiful.
Yeah.
And if you're at the top, my God, it's so kind of scary. You might actually want to be further down at some time. So, like, we're just on the fucking seat. You know, like, sit down on it, enjoy the time, look around, the view's beautiful.
Yeah.
You know?
Juliette, you've spent more time in Edinburgh probably than anyone else. Not in the world, but certainly on this panel. You lived here for a while.
I lived here for 4 years, yeah.
So I'm going to come to you for some practical tips on...
Sure.
We've covered Arthur's seat.
Yeah, I love that. My family definitely wouldn't say I'm practical, but I love it. In this panel, I'm practical. Good.
Where do you go?
Where do I go? I go, there's some wonderful little places that are really quiet, really central. And you don't have to, like things like Hotel du Vin, they have an upstairs bar and it's right next to Bristol Square. Now that is a great little place where you don't have to eat all the food there, you can just hide away, and they give you free nibbles. If you buy like just one drink, they'll give you free nibbles. Really good.
Hotel what?
Hotel du
Hotel du
Vin,
Vin.
like that chain.
Du
Vin. Du Vin.
Du Vin, like
Du Vin.
of
Do you know
wine.
this? Did you know this?
Yeah,
It's
it's
a chain, yeah.
super
You guys
swanky.
know.
It is super swanky, but it's also very quiet, and you don't have to have like the lobster and caviar. You can have just a glass of Diet Coke or whatever, or other brand is available. There's also Frisky Frozen Yogurt. I love Frisky Frozen Yogurt on Forest Road. Under the stairs is down Candlemakers Row, and that is it's under some stairs. It's really quiet, really dark, and kind of candlelit, and just you can hide away. And I also think sometimes I quite like tying my hair up, putting my glasses on, putting a beanie on, and just walking around and people watching. And not anyone would know who the hell I am anyway, but just sometimes it's nice to know that you're a little bit invisible, and just to sit quietly and watch people go by. Yeah, those are my best tips. And taking time. The lovely thing about Edinburgh is living here. Any time of year you can stand in the city centre and see Georgian architecture, medieval architecture, see a big mountain, see the sea, and you're surrounded by folklore and history and good-hearted people. And much like what you were saying, Barry, that like, surrounding yourself with good hearts, because there's a lot of people here who maybe are a little bit superficial or a little bit shallow within the industry, but there's also some people who are in it for all the right reasons, and you know when you meet those people, so you just gravitate towards them, just surround yourself with them, because they will be your blanket.
Lovely. Is there anything you're dreading this time? Is there something that you don't like?
I love the way that the married couple
They look at each other, yeah.
That thing.
Yeah.
We don't talk about
Thing we're not
that.
talking about.
There's got to be another thing.
No, I was just
Fantastic. If the answer's no, that's brilliant.
I don't
love
think there
that.
is anything to dread for us, is there? I don't know.
I used to dread the end of the Fringe, but then I realised the Fringe never ends, because there's always next year.
And there's always another Fringe.
There's always another Fringe.
I suppose I've done quite a personal show this year, like the most personal, and in fact in some ways it's too personal, but so I'm kind of, I don't think I'm dreading a review, but I certainly won't be looking at
Yeah.
for that.
I think that's a running theme. There's a lot of people saying, you know, just remind yourself, reviews are an opinion,
Yeah.
and
But it's funny because when they're in print, they don't seem like opinion. They seem kind of matter of fact.
definitive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of reviewers write from that matter of fact. When I did a MA in creative writing, and I did a kind of like part of one of the modules was about reviewing, and the early reviewers, the 1920s, 1910s, it was all about their experience of the life. So it was very much from a subjective point of view, whereas these days it's very much like
Yes.
this is the view.
Yes.
And I think there's something that would be quite nice about reviews where people will be talking about their own experience of it.
Yeah.
Because it is subjective. It's lovely to hear somebody else's experience. It doesn't have to be this is definitely this many stars.
Yes.
There's also
Yeah.
That's what's
amazing.
most upsetting about it sometimes. Is if you get something and you're like, well, that's just not.
And they
the thing.
fail to see what everybody else in that room has experienced. That's
Which is heartbreaking.
It's
Yeah.
different reviewers. Like if you get a certain reviewer who is your demographic, the kind of person who would probably want to come see your show anyway, and then they will get it. Whereas then you get somebody who definitely they shouldn't be in your show. They should be seeing something else.
Yes,
Like
yeah.
obviously they're not going to get it. So yeah.
Which is difficult when most publications scramble everybody, the gardening correspondent, the weather person, they scramble everybody. Just go and review shows.
Yeah.
And go and see this and review it.
Yeah.
As somebody who did a show last year where we got the rainbow, we got everything from 1 star to 5 stars.
That's beautiful.
We have no clue what people thought of it. And I've said it before and I'll say it again, there was one review that said, it wasn't for me, but this company clearly believe in what they're doing. And I think that's the big takeaway. It's like, so long as somebody believes that I believe what I'm doing.
Yeah.
It's also not like a them versus us. It's not a
Absolutely.
performer versus the reviewers. Everyone's here as part of this Fringe patchwork, and it's a beautiful, wonderful, flawed thing. As long as we all know that and remember that.
Yeah.
And actually, sometimes I do like the constructive bits of reviews that maybe might not be the, oh my god, it was the best thing I've ever seen. In that voice, I read it in that voice. But those little nuggets of like, I would have liked to have seen more of this. It's like, okay, do I take that? Do I leave it? It's up to me. That's the power of going, is that just your subjective opinion and it's not for me? Or is there something in there that I could use for the future?
That's critiquing and not criticism.
Yes, yeah, and that's the difference.
Picking around, being
and
able to work out
write
what's
a beautiful
what.
pull quote that nobody's ever had before, because I'm getting this is just me going on a rant now, but I often get the word inspirational, and I really hate that because I am not. I am a slob, and I drink too much, and I'm flawed, and
Oh God, that's so inspirational.
It's inspired me to drink more.
in that case, my work here is done.
Well, I think we're going to leave it there, guys, because as you can hear, things are starting to pick up.
I hear children. It's my cue to leave.
So have a great day too. Thank you again to the Pleasance Dome for letting us film here. We're having a super time. We'll see you again tomorrow. Have a great day. Stay hydrated. See shows. Enjoy yourself. It's a great time. Cheers.